Hi everyone. So in the past decade or so, we have all witnessed some truly great achievements in artificial intelligence. We have seen machines that can beat the world champion in Go. We have seen self-driving cars, machines that can diagnose cancer, and so on. But what I'm interested in, can we build machines that have social intelligence? And what do I mean by that? So basically what I want to do is to build a machine that can do this, that you see here, to engage in a social interaction with people. That might not seem as a very big thing, right? We are doing this every day. But doing this as a machine, it turns out is extremely complicated. Because you have to read others' attentions, you have to be able to predict their actions, to coordinate with them, and you do this by reading their facial expressions, their gaze, their tone of voice, and so on. Now you might ask, why would I need a machine that can do this? But there are many practical applications of this technology. So for example, in healthcare, we have robots that help people to go to the bathroom. In manufacturing, robots that we can instruct to do tasks for us. These robots cannot just talk to us, but it's quite clear that that is what you would like to do in able to interact with them. Then we have social robots that can work in public spaces to answer your questions, or in education. Now, the problem here is that what humans are good at is not really the same thing that machines are good at. So, again, we as humans think that the thing on the left is truly trivial, while computing large numbers and planning ahead in a complex game is truly hard. These are things that machines find easy to do. So this has been the problem for a long time, and that's why we don't have these kind of machines around us yet. What happened in the last 10 years or so is that we've had advancement in AI, especially in deep learning. And this means that we can build networks that are inspired by the human brain and process in a sort of similar way, in that it can take, you can give it faces and tell that this is a happy face, this is a sad face, and then the machine can figure out how to read faces. And it's forming all its complex representations in between, like where are the eyes and mouth and so on. We don't have to tell it that, it figures this out on its own. So this is truly great for recognizing faces. Of course, it's used for speech recognition. Here we can see how speech recognition performance, the accuracy, only in the last years has truly sort of increased up to almost human level. Again, this is thanks to these new deep learning technologies. But you might ask yourself, why would I talk to a robot when I could as well talk to my smartphone or my smart speaker? What does the robot really add? And one way of understanding the difference is to compare, why would I call someone and talk to them over the phone when I could, why would I meet someone in person when I could as well talk to them over the phone? And that's clear to us. We want to meet people in person. There is so much better to have a multi-party interaction with several people if you are meeting them live in a setting, like the picture on the right. And the same goes for robots. Because you can read people's expressions and you can see who is attending whom, who is likely to be the next speaker and so on, we find that very hard to do if we have a teleconversation or a conversation over Skype. And clearly one part of this is the face, of course. If we have a robot that has a face that can express emotions and so on, and if it has a camera so that it can see the people around it, that's extremely powerful. So through the face, we as humans, we can identify each other, we can recognize people more easily, we can infer where they have their attention, we can more easily take the turns, we can read the emotions, we can give feedback to each other, and also lip reading helps us to understand what they're saying. And this ability to sort of process faces is of course something that evolution has given us. infants very early on start to look at faces around them and try to identify these faces. And we as adults, we find faces everywhere when we look around, right? Because our brain is hardwired to be able to recognize faces. So why not give the machine a face then that is more human-like? In our research, we were interested in that question, and we were using animated faces, but an animated face on a screen, it's like, again, talking to someone over Skype, right? It's not the same thing as a physical meeting. So we thought, why not project the face on a mask? And that's what we did in our research. You can see the pictures here. And then we put a fur hat on top of it to cover all the technical stuff there. And a lot of people were interested, so asked, can you buy this? And we were just researchers, but we said, sure, you should be able to buy it. So we started a company, Fur Robotics, and continued to develop this. So this is what it looks like today. And I have the robot with me here. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe we could try to interact with the robot. See if Fur Hat can wake up.
Hello, I was just taking a nap.
Great. Could you introduce yourself here?
It is so nice to be here in Chile and to talk about the future.
Could you introduce yourself, perhaps?
Absolutely.
Could you do it in Spanish, even?
My Spanish is not so good, but let me introduce you to my friend.
Hola a todos. Soy una máquina socialmente inteligente. Como mi cara es una animación, puedo tener diferentes personalidades. También puedo mostrar diferentes emociones. No tengo ojos ni oídos, pero tengo una cámara y micrófonos, para poder escuchar y ver a las personas con las que estoy interactuando.
Okay, I am back. Anything else I could do for you?
No, it's fine. Thank you very much for that.
Well, then I'll go back to sleep. Let me know if you need me again.
Okay, thank you. So then you might ask sort of what would you use this for? And I want to show you a concept video. This shows what we think it would be great at. It can't do all these things yet, so, but we can do a lot of it. So let's watch.
下午好，你能告诉我哪里可以买火车票吗？
你可以去位于你右侧的售票机那里买票。
啊，谢谢。
不客气。
El tren para la capital, ¿en dónde está? Mira, que lo necesito llegar, pero ya. Llevo tiempo buscando y todo eso. Yo no entiendo lo que quieres decir ahí, por favor.
¿A qué hora sale su tren?
Tenemos que llegar ahí a tiempo porque si no, no vamos a llegar al aeropuerto porque mi marido aquí se empeñó en llegar aquí sin Google Maps y estamos 15 minutos en tráfico. 15.
Ay, mira, tú con esos tacones que tienes, por eso llegamos tarde a todas partes.
¿Mis tacones míos?
Hay un tren que sale a las 12:10. ¿Será ese el suyo?
Sí, ese es.
¿Dónde queda?
Lo tiene a su derecha, en el andén 3. No se preocupe, tardará 2 minutos en llegar. El tren sale dentro de 6 minutos.
Ay, qué bien, ¿eh? Muchísimas gracias. Tal vez debería haberme casado contigo.
¿En serio? Siempre quise un anillo de compromiso. Les deseo un buen viaje.
¿Te estás coqueteando con mi mujer?
No.
No, pero...
So again, you see the multi-party interaction taking place here, and also some part of the social interaction, even though it's more of an information kind of dialogue. And we actually have had Fur Hat at, you can see it here at the Tokyo station, in a collaboration with Deutsche Bahn. We have also had it at airports and the Berlin train station, answering questions, even if it can't flirt yet. So this is another use case that we are working with, to use robots to do job interviews. So the idea here is where we were contacted by a company doing recruitment, and they say that we have this big problem of bias in job interviews, because humans have a lot of bias, of course, and it doesn't only affect the way you assess the candidate, but it also affects the way you perform the interview. So having a robot means that you can perform the interview in exactly the same way with every candidate, and the robot sort of being blind to factors that we know humans are not. and then let the human actually assess the transcript of the dialogue. That's some of the things you can use this for. Where are we now? So there are a lot of problems still, of course, to solve. One is to learn from very few examples. Often you have to give the robots a lot of examples to train on to learn a new task, and that's a problem. If you learn it in one domain or task, and then want to use the robot for another task, you have to basically retrain it. It's very hard for it to sort of reuse this knowledge. So that's another thing we are working on. Understanding human intentions is very hard. So as humans, if you say, do you know what time it is? You wouldn't just answer yes, right? Because you understand that the question is really about the time. And that's what we are good at, and machines are not so good at yet. If you are in a meeting and asking this, it might not even mean that. It might mean that maybe we should round up this meeting soon. Again, similar with humor and creativity is a big problem. And also, of course, how can we trust decisions made by these machines? That's a very big problem. Can we open up the head and see how they actually made these decisions? That's very important, of course. Other questions, of course, are, will this robot take our jobs? And it might seem like that, right? It looks like a human. It's obviously replacing a human that did this task before. That's how we think. And of course, in the history, humans have been very afraid of machines taking our jobs. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I mean, we see that we still have a lot of jobs, even though machines do a lot of the jobs we did before. If we take an example here, a robot serving people in a home, this is something I would love to have in my home, but I don't have a person that does this for me today, so the robot wouldn't really replace anyone. And I think it's the same for many other tasks. We will have much more situations. If we can have robots in school, they don't replace teachers, but they can complement teachers and help out in small room exercises, for example. So I don't think this has to be a problem. Another interesting question, of course, is if we make these robots more human-like, how will that affect our relationships with each other? We can take a quote here. I don't agree with this quote, I should just say. It's from Immanuel Kant. He said, "Animals are not self-conscious and are there merely as a mean to an end. The end is man." But then he said, "We have duties towards the animals because thus we cultivate the corresponding duties towards human beings." And I think if you replace animals here with robots, there is a point here. So actually, the way we interact with robots should be similar to some extent to the way we interact with each other. And as an example, Amazon, some year ago, parents were afraid that their children had learned from Amazon, Echo, where you just give it commands, play music and give me that information and so on, that they would not cultivate this politeness. So Amazon actually added a feature that if you said, please, can you please do that, it rewarded you by answering in a more nice way back. So in this way, we could actually get children, in this case, to cultivate a more polite behavior. So I don't know, maybe robots can actually teach us to be nice to each other. We will see. Thank you very much.